Education Coordinator and PIO for the Fulton County Health Department. Today I welcome you to watch as we discuss why we want our schools to be open. We will be sharing reasons and stories as to why it is important for our kids to stay in school and how we can help.
I am really hopeful that our kids are able to stay in school because my kids are thriving in school this semester and this year. When we were in quarantine, we did fine. I really appreciate everything that the schools were able to do for us. However, my kids are doing so well with the in-classroom instruction, being with their friends, and making connections with their teachers. At our house, it's very difficult because our internet is very spotty. We actually currently don't have any internet services right now, so I'm not sure how that would work with 3 Chromebooks during the day with them all on it, and it would just be a significant challenge. The other challenge that we faced was the socialization with my kids and their friends, and even our family members. It was really hard for them to not have that personal connection with others, and that is something that we would face if we were to go into another situation where we're doing distance learning. I'm so thankful for everything the schools are able to provide with us, and we certainly support if we would have to do that, but I'm really hopeful that we are able to keep each other safe in our community and so that our kids are still able to stay in school for the reasons that I noted, and so that we can continue to move forward and be safe and healthy and happy.
Today we're going to talk a little bit with you about why we feel it's so important for our students to stay in the building and learning at school in our buildings. We think it's critical because schools are truly the great equalizer. Many of you have probably heard the analogy, we're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat, and I feel like that is very true when we think about where our students are at and when we think about distance learning. Distance learning for one student or one family might work really well because their household might have parents at home. They may have even provided tutoring. We had some people in the spring that had some extra help that came into the house to help with that. They might have technology that works great for them, all those supports in place. But unfortunately, when we think about what happened in the spring, that perfect scenario did not exist for many of our families. Parents were working, a lot of my students' parents were working more hours than ever, really, and they didn't have the time or the technology or the ability to help their children complete their work. So when our students are in our buildings, those disparities can be equalized. And it's really hard because sometimes those services that we can provide do not translate well when I think about what it means to go the learning at home and the distance learning piece.
And at the middle school, we had technology. The kids each had a Chromebook, so they were one-to-one. But some of the technology issues of either lack of internet or maybe their bandwidth wasn't fast enough to be able to watch videos that teachers were creating caused some potential issues for students. At the middle school and high school, we also had students who became the babysitters because parents were still working, and so they were babysitting during the day, and then they weren't getting to their schoolwork until later in the evening. And sometimes parents could help, and sometimes parents were working so many hours that they were kind of stuck on their own to try to figure out what they were supposed to be learning.
I think also we have to look at it from a district perspective that our district serves students pre-K through 12, so it looks really different in the primary building as opposed to what the high school students could do. So that was another potential challenge, was trying to find that fit for remote learning at every age group, every grade band, and every developmental level, which that involves also addressing our special needs populations. And there's things we can do in person, in an in-person environment, and we can serve kids in a way that just really doesn't always translate very well to remote situations.
In addition to the different developmental needs of our students. It was difficult to address the social and emotional issues of our students from a distance. Not being able to visually check in with students on a daily basis and see what they need, and just having that in-person relationship. I think some of our kids really struggled with that. I know a lot of our middle school kids just really missed like seeing their friends and just having that actual interaction with their peers and with their students or with their teachers.
I think there's a lot of uncertainty that goes with this type of situation too. And just there's some isolation involved with it, and I mean that can go across the board for adults as well. Even teachers feeling that way or staff members feeling that way, which in turn can cause some anxiety. And I think it does speak to the importance of that daily face-to-face connection and relationships that students have with teachers and that teachers have with each other as well.
The community that is built within a classroom and within a school building and even within our district, I feel like when we went to distance learning in the spring and then continued on with that, it just really highlighted the fact of how important our schools really are and the role they play, not only for the students and the staff and the families that are involved in the school, but the greater community as well.
Absolutely.
I feel like that really highlighted just how critical and important our schools are.
From a social service perspective, we feel that the schools should remain open so that we have professionals that have access to our children. The schools and the professionals that work within the schools are our first line of defense in knowing what the children need and what they're being exposed to in other environments. Most of the mandated reporters for child abuse and neglect are within the school system. When they don't have access to the children, they don't know what's going on within the home, and the children don't have a safe spot to be able to let them know what's going on when they feel unsafe or if there was a situation that happened. When schools first closed in the beginning of COVID, calls that came in as referrals went down for at least the first 4 weeks. They gradually went back up, and as things opened back up and as the professionals were able to get their technology in line to be able to have better access to kids, then the reporting started increasing slowly. We know that the child abuse and neglect didn't stop for that period. The kids just weren't able to tell people what was going on, and the professionals who are important to helping keep the kids safe weren't able to do their jobs correctly. We have kids who depend on the 2 meals that they get at school because that may be the only 2 meals that they get all day. And when the schools are closed, the schools tried to do a very good job in outreach to the kids, but it's still not the same. And you have parents who struggle to be able to provide for their kids, and even before the pandemic. And then when suddenly the kids are there all day and parents aren't working, then that just adds increased stressors, which also then increases the propensity for domestic violence and substance abuse within the home. The isolation also doesn't help kids emotional-wise. They are lacking in their social skills and their development to be able to be with their peers. And so much of what happens within a school isn't just the education, it's the socialization of our children with their peers and the groups and activities that they participate in within the school system. Today we're wrapping and putting together a gift for our foster children who have been affected by the increased violence and substance abuse within the home that has definitely increased during the pandemic. We're hoping to give all the kids in the community a little bit of hope this Christmas, and hopefully we'll get through this.